Hello there, Cool Talk, my countdown to my 200 favorite films. Number 40, Q&A. Officer Brennan is a New York City corrupt cop under investigation for killing a Puerto Rican criminal. What was to be a routine Q&A turns into an inquiry involving Latin street gangs, the mafia, and state politicians. Nick Nolte and Armand Assante turn in dynamite performances. There's also an interesting take on how youth grows up in the ghetto and some become gang members and others become cops. Now, there is a love triangle here that doesn't quite work, but director Sidney Lumet has a feel for the New York streets. There's also a bombardment of racist insults, which plays into the urban tension. This isn't Woody Allen's New York cultural vintage art house feel. No, this is the underbelly, and it stinks. Sideways. Director Alexander Payne and a great cast head this small film. Two men go on a road trip. A last goodbye before one of them gets married. Paul Giamatti plays Miles, an awkward, self-loathing, depressed, moody pain in the butt. But we like him. We hope against hope that he'll find his smile. Now, these characters are flawed and self-absorbed, but that's what makes them interesting. They're not lifelike heroes, and that's the film's appeal. It's a road trip, a comedy road trip for adults. Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, and I hope we get 100 more. These animated toys have more personality than a lot of characters in live-action films, flaws and all. Pixar computer-generated animation was innovative in 1995. And it's still impressive, but the real treat is the writing, the stories, and the voice acting. Witty, funny, and engaging, with moments of real emotion. They are all classics. Taxi Driver. A young Robert De Niro plays Travis Bickle, a loner, a sociopath, a ticking time bomb, as he drives through the ghettos and the Sin City sections of New York, cursing the people while wishing he was one of them. Deluded, he prepares for his, quote, destiny, eating junk food while he's working out, a contradictory pattern that his twisted mind doesn't acknowledge. He becomes a person ready to kill somebody, anybody, thinking that it will help flush out the daily misery that he sees. Now here I'm going to mention another Martin Scorsese-De Niro collaboration, and that is King of Comedy. I think this movie is very underappreciated. De Niro turned in a great performance. Now the movie is good, but because the characters talk over each other, don't really listen to one another, it makes it for a frustrating film. But still good, and it's worth multiple viewings. And Jerry Lewis, by the way, is super good too. Pulp Fiction. Now here's a movie that I really wish I could see again for the first time. Quentin Tarantino makes movie history with this venture of taking conventions and turning them on their head. Forget about traditional screenplays with Act 1, Act 2, etc. This movie starts in the middle and goes circular, and in each section there's one violent character who reaches down deep into himself and finds goodness. There's redemption in every section. It may be hard to see with all the gritty drug usage and violence, but it is there. And the dialogue, the screenplay, a well-deserved Oscar. Tarantino's best. Under Fire. A journalist gets caught up in the civil war of the 1980s, Nicaragua. The movie flopped at the box office in 1983, and many people have never even heard of it. It's too bad. It's an engrossing film which carries a great performance by Gene Hackman as a news anchor with a mixture of cynicism and romanticism. Now, Nick Nolte is good too, as a photographer who at first says that he doesn't take sides. He takes pictures, but he gets drawn in. And then there's Ed Harris as a mercenary. He's an efficient, soulless killing machine. Under Fire always feels authentic. It feels real. Catch it. It's a Wonderful Life. James Stewart is one of the best actors of all time, the everyman that we can identify with, a family man whose own decency gets in his own way as he continuously helps everybody else but never fulfills his own dreams. He is frustrated and he gets close to a mental breakdown and suicide when he's finally taught the value of the life that he's had, that he has been truly blessed. He learns that a person with friends is never poor. A wonderful life indeed, and a wonderful film. Gladiator. What we do in life echoes in eternity. Strength and honor. Those are just a few of the quotes that are spoken in Gladiator, the tale of Maximus, I forgot his name, but anyway, he's a general out to avenge the death of his wife and child in this Roman epic. Russell Crowe is good at portraying characters. You can see his thoughts without him speaking. Joaquin Phoenix gives a layered performance as the weak, whiny emperor, and I enjoy the few moments that Richard Harris had playing Marcus Aurelius, an old emperor, duty-bound but weary. Connie Nielsen, Oliver Reed, Derek Jacobi, they're all impressive, and of course the greatness and the decadence of Rome and the visual spectacle from Ridley Scott. Are we not entertained? Crimes and misdemeanors. Are you capable of committing a crime? What if somebody threatened your whole livelihood? What would you do? How far would you go? Woody Allen's Crimes and Misdemeanors examines these questions. Martin Landau plays a man who confronts his own capacity for evil and has to examine his religious upbringing. He ponders his own life and wonders, is he deluding himself with his religion? Is he a good man who made some bad choices? Or was he a bad man all along who never had to confront his evil? Hard questions, but one of Woody Allen's best. Mississippi Burning. Now, I am aware of the controversy surrounding the film. I wish they had a couple of black characters that were acting a little bit less passive, but it's still an engrossing, very good movie. Great directing by Alan Parker, enhanced by actors Willem Dafoe and Gene Hackman. Two lawmen who don't like each other. The clash of idealism and hard reality forces the country and these two characters to grow up. The movie captures the Mississippi 1960s time period and the efforts of some white people trying to stop progress and social change. A powerful film. Chinatown. An almost perfect screenplay. Almost, because I have mixed feelings about the ending. A story of man's impotence against the powers that be. There is a hopelessness that pervades the whole film, a sense of people flailing helplessly against raging ideas of immorality and greed. Jack Nicholson plays Jake Giddys, a private investigator stumbling into the mucking corruption of a growing urban Los Angeles. We go along piece by piece as he uncovers the horrible truth. Melodramatic and ultimately relentlessly tragic. Now, Citizen Kane is considered one of the best films of all time, and it's high on my list. But remember, this is not a list of the best films, it's the list of my favorite. And forget about a lot of the directors you hear about all out there. Orson Welles was 26 when he raised the bar of excellence permanently. He directed this masterpiece. It's this epic tale of a young boy who is taken from his family and spends the rest of his life trying to buy love. We all know about the innovative technical aspects of the film, groundbreaking for its time, deep focused non-linear storytelling, shadows and floating cameras. As a movie, it's not dated. 70 years later, it still feels fresh and entertaining. If you haven't seen it, watch it, and I guarantee that you will become a fan. Yes, I'm recommending it highly. It is that good. The Exorcist. Hoo boy! A 12-year-old girl in Washington, D.C. becomes demon-possessed, based on a book by William Plady. Now, the book never clarifies if she's possessed or just thinks that she is, but the movie, however, leaves no doubt. There is evil in this house. Now, a lot of what goes on is B-movie horror tricks with heads spinning around, which is impossible, by the way. But it's not the movie that's scary. It's the ideas that it raises and whether the viewer believes in possession or not. The film also deals with faith, as the two priests struggle with their own demons of doubt and pride. But there's a lot of self-sacrifice. The movie is actually spiritual. Now, if you don't believe in demon possession, the belief that any one of us can be this disturbed should be scary enough. Donnie Brasco. After a lifetime of gangster life and 17 killings under his belt, Lefty Ruggiero has nothing. Now, Al Pacino plays this sad sack of a mafioso as kind of a whining little loser who keeps getting passed over. Johnny Depp plays Donnie, an undercover FBI agent who infiltrates the mob and gathers information. Now, for Donnie, the line between his duties and his growing affection for Lefty begins to strain him and his marriage. Depp and Pacino are outstanding together, bouncing their lines off each other like a tennis volley. There is a tender moment where Pacino goes off to meet his fate. It is poignant and is Pacino at his best. A very measured, excellent performance. But there is nothing measured about Pacino here on Devil's Advocate. He goes over the top as the bellowing, blasphemous devil who manipulates everybody around him by appealing to their vices. At the time, Keanu Reeves was known for being Surfer Boy Bill from the Bill and Ted movies, but he is fine here. Now, the film leaves one uneasy, as it appeals to our base natures, and the devil says, "It's okay, you're cool, go with it." Everybody here is guilty of something, and the devil exploits them all. The last soliloquy by Pacino, cursing at God and claiming the world as his own, makes millions of moviegoers squirm. He holds our attention to our delight and our dismay. Jerry Maguire, a romantic movie for men. It's got football, flashy cars, and money. And it's got Tom Cruise with a witty performance as a sports agent with a conscience. We feel for him as the world crumbles around him and he's desperately trying to hang on to his livelihood. Cuba Gooding is great as the proud athlete, demanding respect from those around him as his last few years in football wind down. "Show me the money," he screams. It's a great little film. Funny, witty, you'll enjoy it. And it's very romantic, guys. Catch it. Did I say it had football? Titanic. At the time, the most expensive movie of all time and a giant gamble by director James Cameron. There was a Titanic TV movie coming out, and the stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet were not bankable back in 1997, but it paid off big. This compelling but dragged out love story could have been edited down some, and I had some trouble with the female lead. If she was a selfish little Scarlett O'Hara like Gone with the Wind, it would be more fascinating, but we don't know what to make out of her. But it didn't quite work for me, but when that ship hits the iceberg, the $200 million budget shines through, and the ship sinks in real time. It's fascinating yet tragic. So much so, it may take multiple viewings to really appreciate the heroism and the quiet courage as the crew try to save as many of the passengers as they can, knowing that they themselves will die. Heartbreaking and inspiring, Titanic will go on. Casablanca. Certainly one of the greatest romances of all time. Now, Casablanca is a city in Morocco where during World War II, refugees gathered, trying to obtain safe haven in the United States or to wait for the war to end. Rick, played by the one and only Humphrey Bogart, runs Rick's Cafe. Now, Rick assisted the Ally effort in the past, but he's now cynical and bitter. We learn that the love of his life broke his heart, and when she, Ilsa, played by Ingrid Bergman, walks right into the cafe arm in arm with her husband, Victor Laszlo, a resistance fighter sought by the Germans, well, the movie immediately jumpstarts into high gear. The love triangle is intriguing because it seems like the characters are ambiguous, as if even they don't know what they're going to do. It's an accomplished cast, a rich screenplay, and a timeless classic. Bogart and Bergman are magnetic and memorable. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This is really a tribute to all the Harry Potter films. It was such a pleasure to watch the three main actors grow up before our eyes, year after year. I admit that this movie rests on the shoulders of the 7 Harry Potter films before it. It's a package deal, and Deathly Hallows is a thrilling conclusion that ultimately satisfies. The fact that the filmmakers were able to be faithful to the books and keep the same wonderful cast for 10 years and please both the author and the millions of book fans and turn out such delightful, entertaining movies for so long is a miracle. I could go on and on about the good acting, special effects, production design, the costume, the adapted screenplays, but I'll just say this: go see the Harry Potter films, all of them. They are magical. Well, don't stop there. Continue on the countdown to my #1 favorite film of all time. Thanks for watching. This is Cool Talk.